It is this time of the year again. So let's get straight to the point. The first horror fantasy romance manhwa on my list is Once Upon a Time in a Zombie Empire. The girl dies in her original world and transmigrates into your typical pseudo-European fantasy romance world until all of a sudden a zombie apocalypse breaks out. During the first half of the first chapter, I thought it would be another very shallow, very cliché fantasy romance story, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with how well written it is, compared to a lot of other manhwa of this type, at least up to where I read, so give it 2 or 3 chapters before you decide whether to keep reading it or not. The second story on my list is How to Survive as a Maid in a Horror Game. This manhwa is pretty popular, so you might have already heard about it. The title pretty much summarizes the premise. The female lead wakes up in a horror game as a maid of a dude who needs to kill a bunch of people because of a curse, and her objective becomes to survive in that game. Given the setting of the story, it definitely has some creepy moments. It has some creepy moments, but at least up to where I read, I felt like it had more comedy and just following the general plot of the story rather than actual horror. The next one is Fall in Love or Die. The female lead gets kidnapped by a dude who tells her that if she doesn't fall in love with him within 15 days, he is going to let her go, but if she does, she is going to die. And none of the women he had previously kidnapped survived. This story does read like a fever dream at times, but I still thought it was pretty entertaining, and it has some spicy scenes as well. The next one is Resetting Lady. This one is also very well known. The female lead transmigrates into a novel where she keeps dying and respawning over and over again until after about 100 times she completely loses it and decides to slice everyone up. This story has quite a few creepy and gory moments, and I think it's a pretty interesting read in general. And finally, the last one I have is The Rules of Rose Ivy Manor. This one is the only completed series on my list. The female lead gets transmigrated into your typical fantasy romance novel, or so she thinks, until slowly all sorts of creepy stuff starts to go down. The story can be scary at times, but it's also very funny because the female lead is completely oblivious to everything happening around her. The story is also only around 50 chapters long, so it's perfect for a quick read. And this is all I have for this video. All in all, none of these stories are as gory or scary as a dedicated horror story would be, but if you want to read something slightly spookier than usual without it being too hardcore, then this might be a good list to check out. And this is it. Thank you for watching and happy Halloween!